They're telling my memories of my brother like they're their own. They're stealing my brother from me, one memory at a time. I know how that sounds. I sound crazy. But I'm writing this down because I have to. After tonight, after I sat in a circle of strangers and listened to them speak my life back to me, I need someone else to know. I need to know I'm not losing my mind. My little brother Milo died in a car wreck last winter. It's been 10 months of silence. I haven't really talked about it. The words get stuck in my throat like pieces of glass. My parents couldn't stand the quiet anymore. My mom said I was corroding from the inside out. So they gave me a choice. Go to this grief support group or find my own place to live. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for anything. So I went. I expected it to be awful. A fluorescent hell of stale coffee, cheap chairs, and strangers performing their sorrow for each other. I was prepared for that. I was not prepared for them to know about Milo. Not his name, not how he died. They knew the small things, the secret things, the memories that belonged to me. I've only been to one session. But what happened in that church basement is clinging to me like wet clothes. Just read what I have to say. Tell me if I'm the one who's broken. The room smelled like lemon-scented cleaner and damp concrete. A single fluorescent light flickered overhead, casting long, dancing shadows that made the corners of the room look like they were breathing. I was the last one there. I took the only empty chair, a cold metal thing that groaned under my weight. There were 6 of us, plus the facilitator, arranged in a lopsided circle. No one looked at me. They stared at their hands, at the scuffed linoleum floor, at the water-stained ceiling tiles. The silence was thick, heavy. The facilitator, a woman named Dr. Veris, had hair the color of iron and a smile that was perfectly shaped but didn't reach her eyes. Her voice was low and smooth, like stones worn down by a river. Since we have a new member joining us, let's go around the circle once more, she said, her gaze landing on me for just a second too long. They spoke in clipped, exhausted monotones. I'm Ruben. My sister died of an aneurysm. Nikolai. My younger brother. A construction accident. I'm Isolde. I lost my brother to bone cancer. She offered a tiny, broken smile to no one in particular. Each statement hung in the air for a moment before evaporating. There were no follow-up questions, no murmurs of sympathy, just a shared, sterile acknowledgement of loss. I waited for some crack in the facade, a dark joke, anything to make it feel human, but nothing came. Then all eyes were on me. My throat was tight. Cormac, I managed, my voice a dry rasp. I lost my brother in a car accident. The words came out, and suddenly, I wasn't in that basement anymore. He was 10. I was back in our living room. It was supposed to be a 5-minute drive. Dad was going to the 24-hour grocery for milk. I was supposed to go, but Milo had a diorama for school due the next day, a whole Arctic scene. He needed snow. And the only thing that looked like snow, he insisted, was a specific brand of mint chocolate chip ice cream. I can still see him in his faded blue sweatshirt. It had an astronaut he'd drawn on the chest with a permanent marker, a goofy, lopsided guy with Saturn for a head. He wore that sweatshirt everywhere. It had a little iron-on patch over the elbow where he'd torn it trying to ollie his skateboard. Dad was tired, but Milo pleaded. I stayed home, controller in my hands, lost in some digital world. It should have been me in that car. That thought is a parasite. It's been eating me alive for 10 months. Dr. Veris nodded slowly. Thank you, Cormac. That polished, empty smile again. She scribbled something in a leather-bound notebook, the pen scratching against the paper. She saw me watching and snapped the notebook shut. The others just stared, their faces blank, as if I'd just read an item off a shopping list. Milk. Bread. Dead brother. I thought maybe this was just how it worked. Your grief becomes a fact, a piece of data. It doesn't get smaller, it just gets quieter. You learn to live with the hum. I remember my mom's shriek from the kitchen, the sound of the phone hitting the linoleum. She didn't have to say a word. I knew. I just froze, staring at the television, at the bright, meaningless colors. My character was still running, jumping, living a life that had just become a lie. The word accident left her mouth and shattered something inside me. Cormac? Dr. Varus's voice was a hook, pulling me out of the memory. Someone to my left, Nikolai, gently nudged my arm. I flinched. Sorry? I asked, blinking, trying to drag myself back to the flickering light of the basement. It's time for sharing. Nikolai is going to start us off. Her look was sharp, impatient. Nikolai leaned forward, the legs of his chair screaming against the floor. He was a big man with a thick beard, but his hands trembled in his lap. He started tapping a rhythm on his thigh. Tap, 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 tap. A nervous habit, I figured, but the pattern felt strangely familiar, like a half-remembered song. He had this old blue sweatshirt, Nikolai began, his voice rough. He wouldn't look at anyone. He drew on it with a marker, a little spaceman on the front, claimed it gave him powers to jump higher. He let out a dry, humorless laugh. It had this stupid patch on the right elbow. He ripped it, falling off his skateboard. The air left my lungs. I was seeing the wreck again. The flashing red and blue lights painting the snow-dusted trees. They had to cut the sweatshirt off him. I saw the scissors slice right through the little hand-drawn astronaut. The sleeve, the one with the patch, was snagged on the twisted metal of the passenger door. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I was breathing too fast, too loud. I pressed my palms into my legs, trying to anchor myself, trying to stay quiet. I wanted to scream, to ask him how he knew, but my voice was gone. By the time I could breathe again, Nikolai had finished. Dr. Varus thanked him and turned to Isolde. But before she could speak, a phone buzzed. The sound came from Nikolai's pocket. A tinny, 8-bit melody filled the room for a few seconds. The victory fanfare from a video game Milo and I used to play for hours. Under the music, I swear I could hear Milo's laugh, a ghost of an echo in the damp air. Sorry, my wife, Nikolai mumbled, silencing the phone. A cold shiver traced its way down my spine. That game was our thing. He downloaded the fanfare as his personal ringtone for me. My chest felt a little looser when Isolde started talking, her voice quiet and soft. My brother, he loved mint chip ice cream. No matter how cold it was, he always wanted it. A sad, nostalgic smile touched her lips. He had a funny name for it. He called it Monster Mash. He said it looked like green monster brains with chocolate guts. Milo called it Monster Mash. He'd stick his green tongue out at me, laughing so hard the ice cream would drip down his chin. Mom always kept a tub in the freezer for him, even in the dead of winter. He was in the back of the car that night. The metallic tang of blood filled my mouth. I swallowed, fighting the urge to gag. The room suddenly smelled of gasoline and hot metal, the exact smell that hit me when I got to the salvage yard. The car was a mangled thing, barely recognizable. The windshield was a spiderweb of broken glass. The passenger side was just gone, crushed inward. His stuffed animal, a worn-out seal he'd named Barnaby, was still on the back seat, staring with his one remaining button eye. His sneakers were gone. I remember asking a police officer where his shoes were, over and over. Like it was the most important question in the world. They were just gone. The passenger door was buckled shut. I watched the firefighters pry it open with the jaws of life. The sweatshirt sleeve, with that stupid patch, tore away from the frame. Could they smell it? Could anyone else smell the wreck? I scanned their faces, blank, all of them, except for one. Reuben, the man whose sister died of an aneurysm. He hadn't spoken much, but his eyes were on me. A heavy, intense stare. He wasn't looking at me with pity. It felt like he was looking for something, like he was trying to read the words scrolling behind my eyes. I looked away, but I could still feel his gaze burning into the side of my head. These weren't just coincidences, these were my memories. They were talking about Milo. When it was my turn to share a memory, I couldn't. The words wouldn't form. I'm not ready, I mumbled. No one pushed. But Dr. Varus gave me that same placid smile, her eyes holding mine for a beat too long, like she was waiting for me to say something she already knew. I spent the rest of the session with my head down, staring at the floor, trying to piece it all together. Every story they told was a shard of a mirror reflecting my own life. It's not just that Milo died, it's that I didn't. Every night I see that empty passenger seat, and I wonder if I died too, and this is just some leftover echo. That's when I saw the stain on the floor, a dark splotch of old coffee near my chair. It was shaped, vaguely, like a lopsided stick figure with a circle around its head, like an astronaut. My stomach dropped. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them again. It was still there. A crude drawing of the astronaut from Milo's sweatshirt, etched in coffee on a church basement floor. This wasn't a memory. This was a message. Something that knew. I looked up. In perfect unison, as if a silent bell had rung, everyone else looked up too. The session was over. People started to stand, to stretch, their joints popping in the quiet room. For a moment, I thought I felt Ruben's eyes on me again, but when I turned, he was already walking toward the door. It was nothing. It had to be nothing. I got up to leave, my legs unsteady. As I reached the door, I glanced back. All the chairs were empty, except one. Nikolai was still sitting there, staring down at his hands. He was holding a small piece of folded blue fabric. As I watched, he slowly unfolded it. I only saw a corner of it, but it was enough. I saw the faded blue cotton. I saw the black arc of a marker line. I saw the single, cartoonish eye of a hand-drawn astronaut, and it was damp. It left a dark, wet patch on the denim of his jeans, like it had just been pulled from the snow. I'm home now. I stripped my clothes off at the door and stood under a scalding shower until the water ran cold, but I can't wash the feeling off. I keep telling myself it wasn't Milo's sweatshirt. It couldn't be. But the astronaut, the patch, I know this all sounds like grief-fueled paranoia. A traumatized mind making connections where there are none. Maybe that's all it is. But I can't shake the feeling that something followed me home from that basement. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't. But I keep looking over at the laundry hamper, half expecting to see a small, damp blue sweatshirt sitting on top of the pile. Maybe it's all a coincidence. Blue sweatshirts are common. Mint chip ice cream is popular. Old video games have memorable music. But I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them about the astronaut, or the patch, or the ice cream. How did they know to call it Monster Mash? That was ours. How can a room full of strangers own your most private memories? There's another session next week. I have to go back. I don't want to. God, I really don't. But I have to know what's happening. If Milo is in that room, somehow, in the mouths of those strangers, am I supposed to be grateful or terrified? Next week, I'm going to set a trap. I'm going to share a memory of Milo. But it will be a lie. Something I invent right there on the spot. Something so specific and untrue that only I would know it's fake. And if one of them tells my lie back to me, if they claim my fabrication as their own memory, then I'll know. This isn't grief counseling, it's something else. An excavation. And they're digging inside my head. If they share a memory that was never theirs to begin with, I'll be back. I'll tell you what happens.